Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we live and garden here in Baltimore, Maryland, which is in Zone 7. Today I have a plant haul for us to talk through. I went to the nursery a couple of days ago and I didn't get a chance to film this plant haul since then. Pardon me, I haven't even had a chance to really do any gardening since then. I've been kind of busy with other things, but I'm back into the swing of it today and I'm excited to share with you what I picked up for the garden. So come with me and let's talk about all these fun plants. It's a beautiful morning here in Baltimore. The sky is clear, the air is dry, and the temperature is low and crisp and cool. And it's just a great day to get some things done in the garden. But first, I wanted to share with you the plants that I brought home from the nursery 2 days ago. So, you might be thinking to yourself, wow, she still has stuff in her plant stash that she hasn't planted, and why did she go to the nursery to get more things? Okay, so here's my thinking, and I'm not even really being very jokey about this. It's pretty serious, actually, logic, I think. Pretty sound logic. All right, yes, I do still have plants in my stash. I have in mind everywhere that they're going to go, but I also have in mind some projects that I want to do that require some plants. And now's a great time to be buying the plants because they're young in the season. They're not sitting in the nursery over the summer, getting root bound, getting dried out, whatever happens in the nursery setting. Also, they might not be there later when I go for them if I waited until I had my whole plant stash planted into the ground. Finally, the other reason is that some of the projects that I want to do, I had some of the plants, I didn't have some of the plants, and I want to do them all at the same time. So that's why I went ahead and purchased more plants, even though I still have things in my stash that do need to get put into the ground. So with that said, let me share with you what I got. Before you ask, these plants here are things I did from seed. These are Nicotiana. I forget exactly which mix. It was a mixed colored version. So like this one has a really pretty kind of a mauvey pink purplish color on it, and the flowers open with a more white center and a kind of a purpley mauvey edge and back. But then as they age, that purpley color goes throughout more of the petals. So that's that one. Here's one. Can you see it? There it is. This one is just pure white. There are others in this mix that have been blooming with a nice magenta color, other more of a bubblegum pink color, lots of a color range in the pinks and white family. So I still have quite a few Nicotiana that I could be putting out into the garden, although they're very happily blooming here on my plant table in the driveway. So no big rush on those, but they would be happier in the ground and I would get more enjoyment out of them in the garden setting. So I'll be working on that, but that's not in part of my plant stash today. Okay, so the first thing I'm a little scattered. So I have several areas in the garden where I wanted to be putting more plants out in things. And out in the front yard, along the shrub border and around the corner over into the north foundation border, I have a lot of room on the front edge of the bed by about a foot, maybe even 18 inches deep, where all you see is mulch off of the grass edge. And I really wanted to get some low bedding color into there, and nothing jazzy, nothing to steal your eye and attention away too much from the main plants in there, which are the dahlias and the other perennials and the shrubs that are really the highlight of those gardens. But I didn't want to just have a brown strip of nothingness all across there. So I went ahead and picked up some bedding plants. These are just really simple, just little Vinca annuals. Now, I got 4 packs. I got 3 4-packs of this lavender color and 3 4-packs of this white color. And I'm going to be putting these out along the edges of the front flower beds, at least in some sections. I don't think I'm going to start a whole line of them because I don't have enough plants to do a whole line of them. So I'll probably do clumps here and there across the front. Now, each of these little 1 inch, 1.5 at the top, cell packs has 1 stalk on it. Now these plants over the course of the growing season will branch out and spread out, and the tag says plant in full sun 10 to 12 inches apart, and they get 14 to 16 inches tall. Now that's taller than I remember the Vinca's getting, but anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them in that strip of mulch across the front of the flower beds out there. It's not full sun in most of the spots. It's at best part sun, so they won't grow as big as they would in full sun, but they will grow. The other thing about these Vincas is that they do self-seed. So next year I'll probably have volunteer Vinca coming up in that area where I plant these. That's totally fine with me. Sometimes it takes them a while for the seedlings to show up, like maybe mid to late June from last year's plants. But, you know, that's good. And usually what I do is I pick the volunteers up out of where they fell and grew, and I put them where I want them. So, Vinca. In the same vein of wanting annual color in places where I have holes, I picked up the Salvia Farinacea. So this is an annual salvia. It's in my purple and bluish tones. This is, you know, not going to be one of the huge ones like the Black and Bloom or like the Rockin' Plain the Blues. This one's only going to be 14 to 16 inches tall. Plant them a foot apart. So I have 8 of these plants, and I'm just going to stick them in the front of the border. Kind of, you know, I do have a lot of purple spike shaped things out there already, but it's my favorite plant form and color, and so why not have more? If you like it, do it, right? So 8 of these are going to get put out along the edges of the, or filling in little pockets and holes in that north side shrub border and foundation bed. Okay, moving to a different section of the garden right now. Think about the planter box that's in my side shade garden. The ones with the 2 Steed's hollies, and it has 3 berry smoothie heucheras. It currently has a Haconocloa in it, and I believe 2 ferns in there still, 2 tassel ferns, although I don't think the ferns have really returned very well. They didn't really do well there. So in that bed, I just recently took out 2 blue cadet hostas, and I put those into smaller round containers. So I have holes where those hostas were, and I think the Haconocloa in that bed, I mean, it's doing well. It likes the spot as far as its culture and its watering and so forth. But as far as the looks of the design of that planter, I think I want to do something different. So I think I'm probably going to take out the Haconocloa, and in its place, I'm going to put 3 of these Caladiums. Aren't these beautiful? I love the green, white, and pink coloration on these. I just think they're really, 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 really pretty. Just, I don't know. Something about this particular Caladium strikes me as just gorgeous. And so, you know, Caladiums come in lots of different color patterns, and you can get them, they're mostly in red, white, pink, or green tones, but you can get them patterned and marked all different sorts of ways on their leaf patterns. This one, I just happen to like. The majority of it is pink. It's got a little bit of green modeling, green edges around each of the edges of the leaf. This one has a hole in the leaf, but it's still beautiful. And so this is called Caladium Pink Beauty. It calls for part shade to full shade, and it will grow 24 inches tall, and you're supposed to space them 24 inches apart. So let's see. Care tips. It needs moist, well-drained, humus-rich soil and a monthly application of fertilizer. You can lift these in the fall and store them over the winter and plant them again in the spring. I have had bad luck with doing that. I've not yet successfully kept caladiums over the winter, although I have tried, but it wasn't a success for me. So I just treat these as annuals at this point. I have 3 of these that are going to go into the planter box on the north side garden. Next up, let's change our viewpoint and go thinking about behind the backyard fence between our neighbor's driveway and our backyard fence, where I'm planning to start a native wildflower garden back there. So in light of that, I picked up 3 of these plants, which are a native here in Maryland, and they're really taking the native plant community in Maryland by storm. And this is called Peccara. Peccara aurea. And this is a native plant. It will get these beautiful yellow flowers on them in the spring, I believe. And you'll find these in wild areas or areas that are being rewilded by gardeners in Maryland. And like on the sides of highways or in wildflower meadows, places like that. And It wants sun to part shade. It wants to stay evenly moist, which might be a problem in that back area back there, but we're just going to give it a shot. It grows 12 to 15 inches tall, 12 to 18 inches wide. It blooms in the spring, and it's hardy in zones 4 through 9. So, Peccara. This is an attempt on my part to continue to add native plants into that wildflower garden behind the backyard fence. 3 of these. Going along with the natives theme, but not intended for that backyard garden, this I'm hoping to find spots for it in my inside the fence garden, or maybe even out front. I bought 3 blue Lobelia. They're not blooming right now, but this is what they will look like when they bloom. Again, these are native to Maryland, and so they're great for bringing in the native pollinators. They're great for native environments and habitats. They want sun to part shade. They need to be well watered. So far very similar to the Peccara. They grow 24 to 48 inches tall and 12 inches wide, and they bloom in late summer to autumn, and they're hardy in zones 4 through 8. So blue Lobelia is a really beautiful, it's again another purpley blue spiky shaped flower, similar in flower texture and form to, I would say, like a salvia, a little bit like a foxglove, you know, the spikes with the blooms coming off the sides. So blue Lobelia, again, in my effort for native plants and easy care plants, this is going to be a good one. I got 3 of these. Now, in my garden, I don't go to extremes. I'm not an all or nothing kind of person in any regard. Everywhere in my life, I live kind of by the 80-20 rule, you know, do the right thing 80% of the time, 20% of the time, have a little fun. So I don't buy only native plants. This is an example of a non-native, but it's going to be a great plant, I think. This is Amsonia. It's a Proven Winners variety. This is the Storm Cloud, Proven Winners Storm Cloud Amsonia. So I've been admiring Amsonia as I've been out and about in the community, going to different public gardens and online. Of course, a lot of YouTube gardeners have Amsonia in their gardens. I've always wanted some, and I picked up, I picked up 2 of these. These are the Amsonia Storm Cloud. They want full to part sun, and they grow to be 24 to 30 inches tall. They will be hardy in zones 4 through 9. Let's see, you're supposed to space them 38 to 42 inches apart, so they grow quite wide. It's currently in this size, it's roughly a gallon-sized pot. It blooms in late spring through early summer. I think these have bloomed already, so I'm not going to get blooms on them this year. So again, they get almost 3 feet wide, actually more than 3 feet wide, and about 2 to 4 feet tall. So you need to find a good spot for them where they can spread out and make a nice big sized clump. I have in mind I'd like these to go out into the front area on the corner, roughly alongside the Juliet rose that we planted this year, which by the way does have a bud on it right now. So I think that the blue Amsonia will look nice in that area. I'll probably take out some of the lamb's ear and put in the Amsonia maybe. So that's what I'm thinking for these. So 2 clumps of Storm Cloud Amsonia. I'm hopscotching all around, leapfrogging all around the whole garden today with these plants and where I plan to put them. So take yourself back to the shade garden on the north side of our house, where I have so many hostas and astilbes and hellebores, heucheras, a couple of ferns in there already, some Sun King Aurelias in there already. I have tried and not yet succeeded with Pulmonarya or lungwort. So I decided to try again. So I picked up 1 of these Pulmonarya plants. This one is from Proven Winners. It's called Spot On. And this wants part shade to full shade. 14 to 16 inches tall, 18 to 20 inches apart for its spacing. It's hardy in zones 3 to 9. So almost everybody in North America, well, at least everybody in the continental U.S. and some up into Canada, could use this plant, almost. It blooms in late spring, and it gets these combination of purple and pink flowers on it. Similarly to the way Virginia bluebells bloom, they also are pink/purple. So I think this is going to be a nice combination. I'm going to put it near but not right beside the Virginia bluebells to kind of carry that bloom style and color across the garden through the springtime. I only have one of the plants here. I decided, since I've already killed 2 pulmonarias, let's not go hog wild buying a whole lot more. Let's see. Care. It grows best in filtered sun or part shade and organic moist soil. So I think mine have been too dry, so that's why I am only trying one this year again. I'm going to be putting in, I haven't yet, I keep saying it, drip irrigation in the north side garden. So once the drip's in, this should be very happy over there. So spot on pulmonaria. Okay, moving again to another section of the garden, puts ourselves out in the front yard on the south side. Remember that crepe myrtle that is on the curvy edge of the border at the end of the house, and then it goes around the corner past the crepe myrtle and then onto the side of the south side of the house. On that curvy part under the crepe myrtle, I already have 2 clumps of hardy geranium of 2 different kinds that I got from a family member. And I do plan to put in more hardy geranium. I have them that I got them bare root, and they're over in my plant stash growing happily in their little cans. And so I'm going to put those under there and then on the edge of the border. And then behind them, closer to the crepe myrtle, I'm going to put 3 of these Japanese anemones. So I've never grown anemones before. I understand they can be somewhat assertive, we'll say, in their spreading, so I have to keep an eye on that. But that area over there gets at best filtered sun. I think it gets full straight sun for maybe 30 minutes in the afternoon. So I'm not too worried that this will go out of control. So this is Anemone September Charm, and they will have pink flowers on it with yellow centers. This plant blooms in the late summer to early fall. It wants to be planted in sun or shade. You're supposed to water thoroughly, let it dry out, and let it dry out moderately between watering. So I think that's going to be perfect over there because it doesn't really get a ton of drip irrigation. There's a little bit, but not a lot. It grows 30 to 36 inches tall, and you're supposed to space them 18 inches apart. This is hardy in zones 4 through 8. They have single pink flowers with mauve and rose accents. It's good for rock gardens, and it's good when it's mass planted. They grow best in filtered afternoon light and moist organic soil, but don't like to be wet in the winter. I think that's going to be perfect conditions for this plant over there. It's nice for cut flowers. So I'm eager to see what these anemones will bring to my garden. I bought 3 of these for that section of the garden. Okay, and the last thing that I purchased at the garden center the other day were 2 of these plants. These are a clematis, and they are going to be gorgeous. They have these really multi-doubled flowers that are pink with white edges. They have that frilly center with all the what do you call them? The stamens, pistils and stamens in the center. This is a Raymond Evision clematis. I guess that's a breeder of clematis, similar to David Austin roses. This is Raymond Evision, or Evision. This is the Josephine variety. Now this is a somewhat compact clematis. This one will grow 6 to 8 feet tall. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9. It blooms in late spring to early autumn, so most of the summer. For pruning, you're supposed to take the top growth down by 1/3 in late winter or early spring. So I have 2 of these. Where am I going to put 2 of these, Jenny? I'm going to be putting them on the rose arbors that I have out in the front flower beds. I have 1 on each side. I got them from Kinsman Garden Company. Did I? Or did I get them from Gardener's Supply? I think I got them from Kinsman. I'll put a link down in the description box down below to where I got those rose arbors. Neither of those are an affiliate link for me. I'm just a fan and a customer. So I'll put the link down to wherever I got the arbors. I'm going to be putting them out there. I currently have sweet peas attempting to grow on those. They're not doing very well. It's getting too warm for the sweet peas now. I also have underplanted on both of those with an amaranth, a Hopi red dye amaranth plant, but both of them are only about 3 or 4 inches tall, and neither of them are really growing gangbusters. So I think I'm going to take those out, try that again another time, another year, and put these clematis under those arbors. Now, both of the arbors out there are behind my fairy rose plants, which are growing like wildfire. They're awesome. The fairy roses are looking really great right now, but they're getting all in the business of the arbors, which is what I wanted. I wanted intermingling of the plants out there around those roses. So I really think that when this beautiful purpley pink with white edging clematis is blooming next to the fairy rose, I think that's going to be so pretty. The fairy rose has these little quarter-sized, very ruffly plants that come in sprays and clusters, and then this will have a nice big, bold, ruffly pink colored flower. I think that's going to be a really nice pairing. Well, that brings me to the end of my plant haul for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you'll stick around, maybe subscribe, and come back and watch me planting these plants in all the various places where they're going to be going this season. I hope you have a wonderful day in your garden, friends, and I hope to see you again really soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.